Hello, 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 and welcome to Real Talk with Josh Robb. Okay, and thank you again for tuning in. For today's top stories, we're going to talk about Mitt Romney's tax returns, stopping Frisk Laws, and voter ID laws just passed in Pennsylvania. First up, Mitt Romney's tax returns. Democrats are back on the prowl again and demanding, Mitt, where are your tax returns? And I have to say, though I agree with 80% of what Democrats say, you can guess that I'm right along with them in this. And here's one very specific reason why. When Barack Obama ran for president in 2008, he released his tax returns all the way back to 2000. And even now, as you learn again, he released them all the way through 2011. So we have 11 years of Barack Obama's tax returns. Mitt Romney, we have a 2010 full tax return, and we have a disclosure form for 2011, which means basically we have nothing. And even in the one tax return we did see, we saw Mitt Romney pay the tax rate of around 15%. And this is key. You might want to remember that's 15% because what you're going to hear the GOP argue for the rest of the summer and all through the fall is that you can't raise taxes on the job creators. You can't raise taxes on the job creators. And here's the most. Now on to my second top story, which is the Stop and Frisk Laws currently being implemented in New York City. Now, there are 156,000 young African-American males in the city of New York. And with these new Stop and Frisk Laws, 166,000 young black men, minority men have been stopped in New York. Now, what does this mean? With 100% of the population of New York have been stopped, and about 10,000 more of their friends and family members who look suspect. Now, this is key because out of all the arrests they made, 99% resulted in no arrest. 99%. Alright, so basically, they're telling every young black man, you be fearful walking around the streets of New York. If we're gonna stop you, you look like you into anything hot. But when we pull you over, when we stop you walking, it's a 99% chance that we're doing it for no reason. And we know that. But why are we going to continue to do that? Because we believe we're deterring crime. Because, if I really want to kill someone, I'm going to be walking around with a gun, just hoping that I don't get stopped randomly. Yeah, that's the way people commit crimes. People just walk around the streets with guns and weed. But they're going to tell you that they're being fair. They're making it all even because they're trying to pass laws to reduce the amount of penalties on marijuana you can carry. That's right, people. California was first and New York is second. Well, maybe not second, but they are trying to reduce the penalties on people with small amounts of marijuana. I think right now it could be anywhere from 10 to 25 grams, depending on a couple of different stories I read. But it leads to this incarceration generation that we're currently in, where private companies are benefiting from filling up the beds. And you really got to really understand how the jail system is profiting off of young minority men. You have to think about yourself as a business person for a second. And imagine you have a hotel and you're trying to fill 100 beds every night. Now, if you have to fill those beds, and as a result of filling those beds, you were given government credits or tax credits to feed and for housing of these customers, well, what would you do to get your hotel at full capacity if you had the opportunity? If you had millionaires at your reach that you could call, who could get together legislation that could help you fill up those beds, would you? Chances are most of you is going to say no. Most of you think, oh, I'm a good person. I wouldn't do things like that. Well, that's the problem. Do you think those millionaires care? Do you think they honestly care what happens to the lives of those families after those young men is locked up? And last but not least, for my top 3 stories of the day, is the voter ID laws currently being argued in Pennsylvania. Now, if these laws are passed, 1 out of every 10 Pennsylvania voters will be ineligible to vote. In an urban, let me say predominantly Democratic cities like Philadelphia that vote 6-1 Democrat, 2 out of 10 will be ineligible to vote. 2 out of 10. We lost the election in 2000 by less than 1,000 votes. And we are talking about over 750,000 people not being allowed to vote. Now, if this is not a problem for you, and you're an American voter, and you have all your government IDs, and you're able to vote, and you don't have a problem with 800,000 people being able to vote, there's a name we call you in 2012, and that's Republican. Thanks again for tuning in. That's all. And thanks again for tuning in to Real Talk with Josh Robb. See you next time.